The crystalline spires of Station Nexus glowed with an eerie blue light as Commander Rylax traced the scared portion of his carapace, where a human pulse rifle had nearly ended his life 30 cycles ago. The memory still burned fresh in his mind, much like the warning he was about to deliver to the Celestial Dominion's War Council. The council chamber buzzed with activity as junior officers and seasoned commanders alike gathered for what they believed would be a routine strategy session. Rylax noticed how their bioluminescent markings pulsed with excitement. None of them bore the battle scars he did. None of them had faced humans in actual combat. "The simulation results are clear," announced Admiral Thenna, her crystalline appendages clicking against the holographic display. "Human defenses are primitive. Their reaction times are slow. Their technology is centuries behind ours. This campaign will be over in days." Rylax felt his secondary heart constrict. The same arrogance, the same dismissive attitude that had cost him half the squadron 3 decades ago. He stepped forward, his prosthetic leg making a distinct sound against the polished floor. "Permission to address the council," he said, his voice carrying the weight of experience that made even the most enthusiastic younger officers pause. Admiral Thenna's antenna twitched in annoyance. "Commander Rylax, we've reviewed your previous reports. Your concerns have been noted. With respect, Admiral, you've noted nothing." Rylax activated his personal projector, displaying footage from his last encounter with humans. This was supposed to be a simple reconnaissance mission, one ship against what we thought was an unarmed research vessel. The footage showed a human ship, seemingly defenseless, suddenly transforming. Panels sliding away to reveal weapon systems that shouldn't have existed, energy signatures spiking in patterns that defied their tactical doctrine. "We lost 3 cruisers that day," Rylax continued, his outer membrane darkening with the memory. "Not because the humans were technologically superior, but because they think differently. They don't fight the way we expect them to fight." "That was 30 cycles ago," interrupted General Zex, her bioluminescence flaring with impatience. "Our quantum shields are impenetrable now. Our tactical systems are predictable." Rylax cut in. "Everything we do is predictable because we follow established military doctrine. Humans don't. They improvise. They adapt. Do you know what they did when we deployed our gravity disruptors in the Centauri sector?" The chamber grew quiet. Even Admiral Thenna's dismissive posture softened slightly. "They launched their own ships directly into the disruption fields," Rylax said, his voice heavy with remembered disbelief. "They used our own weapons as propulsion systems, achieving velocities our targeting computers couldn't track. Who does that? What species looks at a weapon designed to tear ships apart and thinks we can use this to make our ships go faster?" The younger officers shifted uncomfortably, but Rylax could see the skepticism in their postures. They still didn't understand. "You're planning this invasion based on technological superiority," he continued. "But humans don't think in terms of technological limitations. They think in terms of possibilities. When we deployed energy shields, they responded with kinetic weapons. When we used stealth technology, they detected us by looking for where their primitive radar systems showed nothing at all." Admiral Thenna's crystalline appendages clicked in a pattern indicating finality. "Commander, your experience is valued, but times have changed. Our analysis shows." "Your analysis shows exactly what humans wanted to show," Rylax said, his tone sharp enough to cut through the Admiral's dismissal. "Every piece of technology they've revealed to us, every tactic they've demonstrated, it's all carefully curated. They're showing us what they want us to see." He limped closer to the central display, his prosthetic leg a constant reminder of human ingenuity. "You think you're planning an invasion. I think we're walking into a trap. Humans have a saying that our linguistic computers took years to properly translate. The most dangerous animal is not the strongest or the fastest, but the one that's willing to throw all its own rules away to survive." The chamber fell silent as Rylax's words hung in the air. For a moment, he thought he might have gotten through to them. Then General Zex's bioluminescence pulsed with barely contained laughter. Poetic, Commander, but hardly tactical reality. The invasion plans are set. The fleet departs in 3 cycles. You're welcome to observe from a safe distance. Rylax looked around the chamber one last time, at all the confident faces untouched by combat, at the brilliant tactical displays showing their carefully planned invasion routes. They wouldn't understand until it was too late, just as he hadn't understood until that human pulse rifle had nearly ended his life. "Then I have one last request," he said quietly. "When it all goes wrong, and it will go wrong, remember that you were warned. Remember that someone tried to tell you. Humans are not primitive. They're not technologically inferior. They're something far more dangerous. They're innovative." As he turned to leave the chamber, his prosthetic leg echoing against the floor, Rylax thought he saw a flicker of doubt cross Admiral Thena's features. But it wasn't enough. It would never be enough until they learned the same lesson he had, that in war, the most dangerous enemy isn't the one with the best weapons, but the one who refuses to fight the way you expect them to. First contact gone wrong. The Dominion invasion fleet emerged from quantum space in perfect formation, their crystalline hulls refracting starlight in dazzling patterns. 5,000 ships strong, each vessel bristling with weapons that could reduce planets to ash. Admiral Thena stood on the bridge of her flagship, the inevitable victory, watching with satisfaction as Earth grew larger on their main display. "Status report," she commanded, her bioluminescence pulsing with anticipation. "No detection yet, Admiral," reported Lieutenant Crix from the sensor station. "Their primitive systems remain blind to our presence, just as predicted." Thena's crystalline appendages clicked in approval. Commander Rylax's warning seemed absurd now, faced with the reality of human technological inferiority. Their quantum shields were operating at peak efficiency, their stealth systems were perfect, and their targeting computers had mapped out every possible defense scenario. "Launch the first wave," she ordered. "Target their orbital defense platforms and communication arrays. I want their command structure decapitated before they even know we're here." The first wave of ships accelerated toward Earth's orbit, their weapon systems charging. Everything was proceeding according to plan until Lieutenant Crix's bioluminescence suddenly flared in alarm. "Admiral." Multiple signatures emerging from the debris field. What they had dismissed as space junk was moving. Chunks of what appeared to be destroyed satellites and old rocket stages were splitting apart, revealing hidden weapon systems. But it was their configuration that made Thena's outer membrane pale. "They're not using energy weapons," Crix reported, his voice trembling. "They're launching. Are those modified mining charges?" The human weapons were crude by Dominion standards. Simple magnetic devices designed to attach to ships and detonate with focused explosive force. The kind of primitive technology their quantum shields had been programmed to ignore as harmless. "Evasive action," Thena ordered, but it was too late. The first wave of mining charges struck their targets, not attempting to penetrate the shields but instead creating localized gravitational distortions that played havoc with their quantum field generators. "Impossible," General Zex whispered from her station. "They're using industrial mining equipment as weapons. Our shields are calibrated for energy weapons, not this." But the mining charges were just the beginning. From Earth's direction came a massive wave of what appeared to be simple communication satellites. As they approached, they began broadcasting on every frequency simultaneously, creating a cascade of interference that overwhelmed their sensor systems. "We're flying blind," Crix shouted. "The interference. It's like they turned their entire orbital communication network into a weapon." Thena watched in horror as her carefully coordinated attack dissolved into chaos. Ships were losing formation, their advanced targeting systems rendered useless by the primitive but effective electronic warfare. And through the chaos came the human counterattack. What looked like ordinary cargo vessels suddenly revealed hidden weapon ports, launching waves of kinetic projectiles. No energy weapons, no advanced technology, just solid chunks of metal accelerated to devastating velocities. The Dominion fleet's quantum shields, designed to repel energy attacks, struggled to cope with the physical impacts. "Admiral," Crix's voice cracked with disbelief, "they're using their own destroyed ships as weapons. The debris, they're steering it into our formation using simple magnetic fields." A new transmission cut through their confused communications, broadcasting on their supposedly secure quantum channels. A human voice, speaking perfect Dominion standard. "This is Commander Jackson of Earth Defense Force. We've been expecting you. Thank you for the lovely test of our orbital defense network. Would you like to see what else we've prepared?" The words had barely registered when Thena's tactical display lit up with new warnings. The lunar surface was opening, revealing massive rail gun installations that had been hidden beneath the regolith. They had transformed their own moon into a weapon platform. "Fall back," Thena ordered, her confidence shattered. "Regroup at the quantum jump point." But as her fleet attempted to retreat, they discovered the humans had one more surprise waiting. Simple probes, barely more advanced than their first spacefaring vessels, had positioned themselves throughout the solar system. As the Dominion ships passed, the probes detonated, creating clouds of quantum reactive particles that made FTL travel impossible. "They've trapped us," General Zex realized, her bioluminescence dimming with fear. All this primitive technology, it was a trap. They knew exactly how we would attack, exactly what we would dismiss as harmless. As Thena watched her fleet being systematically dismantled by technology she had dismissed as primitive, she remembered Commander Rylax's warning. The humans hadn't fought the way they expected. They hadn't even tried to match Dominion technology. Instead, they had turned their own technological arrogance against them, using simple, crude, but devastatingly effective methods that bypassed their advanced defenses entirely. The humans hadn't just prepared for an invasion. They had studied their enemy, identified their weaknesses, and turned their own assumptions into weapons. And now, as the remnants of her fleet struggled to escape, Thena realized they had made an even greater mistake. They had given humanity a reason to push beyond their solar system. The real war hadn't even begun. Commander Rylax stood in the observation deck of Station Nexus, watching the tactical displays with a mixture of vindication and dread. The Dominion fleet's retreat had been anything but orderly, their once proud armada now scattered across the Sol system like broken crystal. "They've launched their response fleet," announced strategic analyst Naira, her bioluminescent patches pulsing with concern. "The humans, they're not just defending anymore." The displays showed something that should have been impossible. The human ships were using captured Dominion quantum drive signatures, making them appear as friendly vessels to automated defense systems. But it was how they'd managed this feat that made Rylax's outer membrane ripple with dark amusement. "They didn't hack the signatures," he observed. "They recorded them during the first battle, like taking a snapshot of our quantum fingerprints." Naira's appendages twisted in confusion. "But that's not how quantum signatures work. You can't just..." "Can't," Rylax interrupted. "Humans don't care about can't. They see a quantum signature, they figure out how to copy it. Not with advanced technology, but with synchronized radio bursts timed to mimic the frequency patterns. Crude, imperfect, but good enough to confuse our automated systems." The tactical display updated, showing human forces pushing deep into Dominion space. They weren't using the captured Dominion ships as weapons platforms. That would have been too obvious, too expected. Instead, they had studied them, learned from them, and then applied that knowledge in ways that no Dominion tactical analyst had ever considered. "Report from the Arcturus defense perimeter," Naira announced, her voice wavering. "The humans are using our own quantum wake signatures against us. They're surfing them." Rylax watched as the human ships positioned themselves in the quantum wakes left by fleeing Dominion vessels, using the disturbed space-time to achieve faster-than-light travel without needing their own FTL drives. It was like watching someone learn to swim by studying drowning victims, horrifyingly effective and completely unexpected. They're approaching the Centauri outpost, another analyst reported. But their weapons, this can't be right. They're launching what appears to be primitive nuclear devices. Not weapons, Rylax corrected, remembering old battles. Shields. The human ships had surrounded themselves with a cloud of controlled nuclear detonations, using the electromagnetic pulses and radiation to create a crude but effective defense against Dominion energy weapons. Any beam weapon fired at them would be scattered, refracted, or absorbed by the electromagnetic chaos they had wrapped themselves in. Incoming transmission from the human fleet, Naira announced. Text only. The message appeared on the main screen. Thanks for the quantum physics lesson. We're fast learners. Ready for your next class. The human advance continued, methodical and relentless. They weren't trying to match Dominion technology. They were bypassing it entirely, using their understanding of basic physics in ways that made their advanced quantum science nearly irrelevant. Multiple breaches reported at the Centauri outpost. The tactical officer reported. They filled their boarding pods with water. Simple H2O. Our internal sensors didn't register them as threats until it was too late. The water's shorting out our crystal-based computer systems. Rylax watched as the humans systematically dismantled the Dominion's defenses, not with overwhelming force but with devastating creativity. They had turned their own technological limitations into advantages, using simple solutions that bypassed complex defenses. New signal from the human fleet, Naira reported. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Music. The sound that filled the command center was unlike anything in Dominion records, a human battle song. They would later learn called Flight of the Valkyries. The psychological impact was immediate. The Dominion forces, already rattled by the humans' unconventional tactics, found their crystalline neural networks disrupted by the unfamiliar harmonic patterns. They're not just fighting us, Rylax realized. They're studying us. Every engagement teaches them more about our weaknesses, our assumptions, our blind spots, and they're learning faster than we can adapt. The tactical display showed human forces had secured the Centauri outpost, but they weren't stopping to fortify their position. They were already moving deeper into Dominion space, using their newly acquired knowledge to bypass defense systems with increasingly creative solutions. Incoming report from High Command, Naira announced, her bioluminescence dimming to nearly black. The humans, they've offered terms. The terms appeared on the main screen, and Rylax felt his secondary heart skip a beat. The humans weren't demanding territory or resources. They wanted knowledge exchange programs, joint military exercises, collaborative research projects. They weren't trying to defeat the Dominion. They were trying to learn from them. They're offering to teach us, Naira whispered, her confusion evident in her fluctuating bioluminescence, about their methods, their adaptability, their way of thinking, in exchange for access to our quantum technology research. Rylax watched as another human fleet emerged from the quantum wake of a retreating Dominion battle group, their crude but effective adaptations of Dominion technology, allowing them to strike deeper into their space than should have been possible. Accept the terms, he said quietly, before they finished teaching themselves. As the humans continued their advance, Rylax couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The Dominion had wanted to teach humanity a lesson about their technological superiority. Instead, humanity was teaching them something far more valuable, that true advancement comes not from having the most advanced technology, but from finding new ways to use what you have. The crystalline halls of the Dominion High Council chamber had never felt so cold. Admiral Thena stood before the assembled council members, her once proud bioluminescence now dim with humiliation as she delivered her report. The humans have secured 3 more quantum relay stations, she announced, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Not by destroying them, but by rewiring them. They're using our own communication network to coordinate their advances. High Counselor Vex's crystalline appendages clicked in agitation. Rewiring quantum technology with primitive tools. That's impossible. Impossible is becoming a meaningless word where humans are concerned. Commander Rylax interjected from his observer's position. They didn't need to understand how quantum relays work. They just needed to understand what they do. The tactical display updated, showing human forces spreading through Dominion space like a neural network, each captured relay station becoming a new node in their expanding web. But it was how they were using these stations that truly demonstrated their ingenuity. They're not just communicating through the relays, strategic analyst Naira reported, her sensory filaments trembling. They're using the quantum entanglement fields to detect our fleet movements. They've turned our communication network into a sensor grid. The council chamber erupted in agitated clicks and flashes of bioluminescence. A junior counselor's voice cut through the chaos. But how? The quantum principles involved are irrelevant, Rylax interrupted. They don't care about quantum principles. They care about results. They saw our ships created disturbances in the entanglement fields, so they learned to watch for those disturbances. Simple pattern recognition, applied to technology they don't even fully understand. The display shifted to show a new development that made even Rylax's outer membrane ripple with surprise. The humans had begun modifying their captured Dominion vessels, but not in any way their engineers had anticipated. They're stripping them down, Admiral Thenna observed, her confusion evident. Removing the quantum drives, the advanced weapon systems. Why would they downgrade our technology? Because they're not trying to copy us, Rylax realized, watching as the humans systematically reconstructed the ships with hybrid systems. They're adapting our technology to work with their methods, making it simpler, more reliable, more human. The modified ships moved with a grace that seemed impossible for their jury-rigged construction. Where Dominion vessels relied on quantum field manipulation for maneuverability, the human-modified ships used a combination of conventional thrusters and selective quantum field generation. It was less elegant but far more unpredictable. New tactical data from the Proxima front, Naira announced. The humans have developed countermeasures for our quantum torpedoes. They're using are these modified weather satellites. The display showed human ships deploying clouds of simple satellites that created localized gravitational distortions. The Dominion's quantum torpedoes, programmed to seek optimal attack vectors through spacetime, became trapped in endless probability loops, never finding their targets. They're not just defeating our weapons, Admiral Thenna said quietly. They're making them irrelevant. Every breakthrough we've achieved, every advancement we've made in quantum warfare, they find a simple, primitive solution that renders it useless. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Dominion had spent centuries developing their quantum technology, refining it to perfection. The humans had taken one look at it and found ways to counter it with technology barely more advanced than their first space missions. We've received a new communication from their command, Naira reported. They're offering to help us improve our quantum drive efficiency. They say they've found a way to reduce quantum field interference by 40% using, quote, basic electromagnetic principles any first-year physics student would understand. The message was clear. The humans weren't just fighting the Dominion. They were surpassing them. Not through superior technology, but through superior innovation. There's more, Naira continued, her bioluminescence pulsing with what might have been embarrassment. They've attached detailed diagrams of the proposed improvements. The principles are so simple. How did we miss this? Because we were looking for complex solutions, Rylax answered. We've spent so long mastering quantum science that we forgot about the basic physics it's built on. The humans didn't have that limitation. They saw our technology with fresh eyes. High Counselor Vex's crystalline appendages clicked in a pattern indicating deep thought. Perhaps it's time we considered their offer of knowledge exchange. Not because they've defeated us, but because they've shown us a new way of thinking. The tactical display updated one final time, showing human ships moving through Dominion space, not as invaders, but as impromptu engineering consultants. Where they went, they left behind hybrid technologies that combine Dominion quantum science with human pragmatism, creating systems that were more efficient than either civilization had achieved alone. They're not trying to conquer us, Admiral Thenna realized, her bioluminescence brightening with sudden understanding. They're trying to teach us, just as we thought we would teach them. The irony was not lost on anyone in the chamber. The Dominion had launched their invasion to demonstrate their superiority, only to discover that true advancement came not from perfecting one path of development, but from being willing to learn new ways of thinking. "Send word to all remaining fleet elements," High Counselor Vex commanded. "The war is over. The knowledge exchange begins now." One cycle after the failed invasion, the observation deck of Station Nexus had changed dramatically. Where once only Dominion officers walked, now humans and aliens worked side by side. Commander Rylax watched as a human engineer named Rodriguez explained something to a group of Dominion scientists, using nothing more complex than a paper diagram and enthusiastic hand gestures. Still having trouble believing it, Admiral Thenna asked, approaching with her bioluminescence now restored to its former brightness. She had found a new purpose after the war, heading the Joint Technology Exchange Program. "Trouble believing which part?" Rylax responded, his remaining antenna twitching with amusement. "That humans managed to defeat our most advanced weapons with technology we considered obsolete, or that they immediately turned around and started helping us improve our systems." Before them, Rodriguez was demonstrating how simple electromagnetic principles could be used to stabilize quantum field generators, reducing power consumption by nearly 60%. The Dominion scientists' bioluminescence pulsed with excitement as they grasped the elegant simplicity of the solution. "We just received the latest report from the Joint Fleet exercises," Thenna said, her crystalline appendages clicking with what Rylax now recognized as pride. "The hybrid ships are outperforming both pure human and pure Dominion vessels in every category." The tactical display showed the results. Ships combining Dominion quantum technology with human practical engineering were more maneuverable, more efficient, and more reliable than anything either civilization had produced alone. But it wasn't just the technology that had evolved. "Look at how they move," Rylax observed, watching the Joint Fleet perform complex maneuvers. Dominion precision with human adaptability. They're learning from each other. A group of human and Dominion cadets passed by, engaged in animated discussion about the relative merits of different propulsion systems. One young Dominion officer was arguing passionately for the advantages of chemical rockets in certain situations, while his human counterpart sketched out improvements to quantum field generators. "Did you see the latest innovation from the Cultural Exchange Program?" Thenna asked, bringing up a new holographic display. "The humans introduced our scientists to something they call brainstorming sessions. No hierarchy, no predetermined approaches, just pure creative thinking." The display showed footage from one such session, where human and Dominion engineers worked together to solve problems neither civilization had managed alone. The humans' willingness to try seemingly ridiculous solutions had proved the perfect complement to Dominion theoretical expertise. "Latest breakthrough from Lab 7, announced strategic analyst Mara, approaching with her bioluminescence bright with excitement. The humans suggested using their old satellite television technology to improve quantum entanglement stability. Something about signal noise reduction principles. The efficiency increase is remarkable." "Of course it is," Rylax said, his outer membrane rippling with something close to joy. "They're teaching us to think differently, just as we're teaching them to understand quantum mechanics." Both sides growing stronger together. A sudden commotion drew their attention. A human child had wandered onto the observation deck, apparently lost. Instead of fear or confusion, the young one was staring in wonder at a Dominion officer's bioluminescent display. The officer, rather than calling security, was creating patterns of light to entertain the child. "That," Rylax said quietly, "that right there is why they won. Not because they were stronger or more advanced, but because they never lost their sense of wonder. Their ability to look at something completely alien and see not a threat, but an opportunity to learn." Admiral Thenna's crystalline appendages clicked in agreement. The Council has approved the next phase of the exchange program. We're opening our quantum physics academies to human students, while they'll be teaching us their approach to practical engineering and adaptive thinking, and the military cooperation. Rylax asked, though he already knew the answer. Expanding, then a confirmed. Joint fleet exercises, combined research and development, shared defense protocols. But more importantly, we're learning to combine our different approaches to problem solving. Dominion thoroughness with human creativity. The tactical display updated one final time, showing the new joint patrol routes. Human and Dominion ships flying together, protecting both civilizations' territories not as reluctant allies, but as partners who had learned to value their differences. You know what the humans call this? Naira asked, gesturing to the combined fleet. They call it the best of both worlds. Apparently it's from their entertainment programs about space exploration. Rylax watched as Rodriguez finished his presentation, the Dominion scientists crowding around him with questions. None of them cared that he was explaining advanced quantum physics concepts using a paper airplane as a visual aid. They had learned that wisdom could come in the most unexpected forms. We thought we were going to teach them about advanced technology, Rylax mused. Instead, they taught us something far more valuable. That true advancement comes not from perfecting what you already know, but from being willing to learn new ways of thinking. As if to emphasize his point, a small group of human children ran past, playing some sort of game with young Dominion offspring. The children had created their own simple sign language to communicate, bypassing the need for translators entirely. The next generation won't even remember we were once enemies, Thena observed, her bioluminescence glowing warmly. No, Rylax agreed, watching as human ingenuity and Dominion technology continued to blend in ways that benefited both civilizations. They'll grow up knowing something we had to learn the hard way, that the greatest strength isn't in having the most advanced technology, but in being willing to see the universe through new eyes. The station's quantum core hummed with newfound efficiency, powered by principles so simple that both human and Dominion children could understand them. Above, the joint fleet patrolled space that had once been a battlefield, now protecting the combined achievements of two civilizations that had learned that their greatest differences were also their greatest strengths. It wasn't the future anyone had expected, Rylax reflected, but it was better than anything they could have achieved alone. The humans had a saying for that too. The best victories are the ones where everyone wins.